So far we have seen how to calculate the deformation in a bar which has got a cross section which is uniform throughout its length. Suppose if we have a bar which has got a cross section of A throughout its length L, and if suppose say the material property is E which is subjected to say load P. Now in this kind of bar we know that the deformation can be calculated as dl equal to PL by AE, and we could do this because this area was constant throughout this length. Further, one step ahead, we also saw that if the cross-sectional area was varying in steps, even then we could apply this formula of calculating the deformation, provided we calculate it for these segments, this individual segment. For example, if this segment is 1 and 2, I could use this formula to calculate the deformation here in dl1 in segment 1 and then dl2 in segment 2. The reason why I could use this formula is because always this A was constant throughout this its length. For example, here this area was constant at least for this length, for this segment length, and similarly this area was constant, cross sectional area was constant for this length. But now what we, if we have this case wherein the cross sectional area is continuously varying, so the cross sectional area, what is happening here is it is continuously varying from one end to the other end over its length L. So in this kind of problem we cannot directly use this expression to calculate the deformation, but what we will have to do is we will have to take the help of something called as integration. So for that, what I will do, I will consider one small element here. I will consider one small element. Let us say I am considering it here, one small element, and I will say the length of this element is dx. So I will say the length of this element is dx, and let this element be at a distance of say x from this end, from the end of b1. Let this element be at a distance of x. Now let this b1 be the height of this bar at this end, and similarly as we are going over its length it is reducing to b2, and let t be the thickness of this bar. So it is a bar of uniform thickness, so we are keeping here the thickness constant throughout its length, and then at a distance of x I have considered this small element of length dx, right? So let me call this height, from here to here as b, and this is what has been shown here, this element. So this height from here to here, let it be b. So this will be its cross sectional area at this place, which is nothing but b multiplied by t. Now since this element is of length, very small length dx, in that case what I can do is I can apply this formula to calculate the deformation in this small element of length dx, because since the length of this element is very small, its variation along the length can be neglected. So because of that, if I try to draw this element here, I can draw it in this fashion. What I can do is I can draw it in this fashion, and then what I will do is I will neglect the variation in these two sides, because what I am assuming is this length of this element is very small. So that is why I am calling it as dx. So because of that, since the length is small, I can very well neglect the variation, and if I neglect the variation, and then I know that if it is subjected to load P, if this element is subjected to load P, I know that the deformation in this small element of length dx can be given as, so the deformation in this small element of length dx can be given as the load is P, the length of this small element is dx, divided by the cross sectional area A, which is nothing but b multiplied by t, which I can write it as just as A, and then I have to multiply this by its material property E. So this will be the formula to calculate the deformation in this small segment whose length is dx. But we are not done yet, because we are more interested to calculate the deformation in this entire bar. So if I want to calculate the deformation in this entire bar, I know that since I have got the deformation in this small element, and if I want to calculate the deformation in the entire bar which goes from 0 to L, I need to integrate this, right? So in for that, what I can do is I can write that the deformation in entire bar, so the deformation in entire bar, that is dl can be given as integration of this deformation of this small element dx, of this small element of length dx over the length 0 to L. So this will give us the deformation of this entire bar. But now here, can I integrate this directly? To understand that, I will take this expression one step forward. All right, so I can write this expression as integration from 0 to L. I can write this as p dx divided by this area. I need to write this as b into t, right? So this will be thickness into its height b multiplied by e. So now here, if we look at this expression carefully, I know that load P is constant, because once the load is applied, it will remain that way. So P is constant, which I can bring out. Thickness is also constant. We said that let this bar be of constant thickness. So whatever was thickness here, same thickness will be continued up to this length L. So this thickness is also same throughout its length. So thickness is constant, material property is same of this bar. So basically the things which I can bring out of this integration is p divided by te 0 to L dx divided by b. But now what about this b, right? Can I bring this b out of this integration? No. The reason is because b is not same over the length, I mean with respect to this length, b is not same. It is changing right from b1 to b2. So that means what I need to do, I need to find a certain expression of this b, the way it is changing with respect to x. For that I need to establish the expression for this b. So basically I will have to write this b in terms of x, or how this b varies with respect to x. And for that purpose, what we will do is I will do here some geometric construction to understand how the b varies. So what I will do is I will just draw one construction line from this point to this point, and similarly I will draw one more construction line right from this point to this point. I know that this from here to here, the height is nothing but it is b2. So from here to here, from this point to this point, this height is b2, whereas from here to here it is b1. So how much will be this distance from this point to this point? So this distance from here to here will be nothing but it will be what? b1 minus b2, right? b1 minus b2, but b1 minus b2 will give us this and this. In order to get only this height, it will be b1 minus b2 divided by 2, right? And similarly, if I want to find what is this height from here to here, right, it will be on similar basis. It will be what? B minus b2, it will be b from here to here minus this b2 divided by 2. So this term will be b minus b2 divided by 2, and from here to here it is L, whereas from here to here it is x. So therefore this distance from here to here will be L minus x. Now what I can do is I can draw this triangle separately. Basically what we are trying to do, we are trying to establish the relation between b and x. How we are trying to see basically how this b will vary with respect to x. For that I will draw this triangle. I will draw this triangle here again. So let me draw that triangle here again. So this is our triangle, and this height is nothing but, we found that this height was b1 minus b2 by 2, right? This was b1 minus b2 by 2, whereas this height here this height, it was b minus b2 divided by 2. And then this distance, this length from here to here was L, whereas this length from here to here was L minus x. And then since this thickness is very small dx, I can just neglect it for time being. Now if you observe carefully, I know that these are similar triangles, and by using the properties of similar triangle, one can very easily write b1 minus b2 by 2, this height divided by this length L should be equal to b minus b2 by 2 divided by this length, that is L minus x. So from here basically what I will get is, I will get this b in terms of x, b1, b2 and L. So that is what we are trying to do. We are trying to find what will be this b in terms of x. So which I can get very easily from this now, from this relation. So further I can write this relation as b1 minus b2 by L. This should be equal to b minus b2 divided by L minus x. Further, if I just multiply this term with this, I can write it as b1 minus b2, and this is multiplied by L minus x, and then I have this L. This should be equal to b minus b2, right? Further, if I divide this L minus x with this L, I will get this as what, b1 minus b2 into 1 minus x by L. This should be equal to b minus b2. Further, if I multiply this term and this term, I will get this as b1 minus b1 x by L minus b2 plus b2 x by L, and this should be equal to b minus b2. So we have done a bit of calculation here, and then since this minus b2 is on both the side, I can very well just cancel this out, minus b2 and minus b2. And then further I can rearrange this term as follows. I can write this term as, this term will be b1, right, as it is I am keeping this, minus this will be what, b1 minus b2, this will be b1 minus b2, and then I can divide this by L, common L, and I can multiply this by x, this x, right, and this will be equal to b. So finally I have been able to obtain what is b here. So basically I can rewrite this b as b1 minus what, b1 minus b2 by L times x. Since this b1 minus b2 by L is constant term, right, because b1 is this side, b2 is this side, this is L, these are basically the constant terms. So I can write this as some constant. So I can write this as b is equal to b1 minus, I can write this term as some constant, say some constant k. So this will be k, and then again I have this x. So finally I get this b in terms of x. So this is what I will have to substitute now here in this case. In place of b, I will have to substitute b equal to b1 minus k times x. Basically this is the relation which tells us how this b varies right from 0 to L. Suppose if you say how much will be the b at x equal to 0. So b at x equal to 0 means we will have to substitute x as 0. So in that case I get b as b1, right? I will get b at x equal to 0 means b I will get it as b1. Whereas b at x equal to L should be how much? B at x equal to L should be b2. And then similarly if I substitute x as L, this L and this L will be get cancelled, this b1 and this b1 will be cancelled out, and finally I get b as b2. So this is the expression basically which relates b with x. Fine. So in place of b we will have to substitute this b1 minus k times x. So this will be now p divided by te, and then in place of b I will have to write b1 minus k times x. Now this I need to integrate, and we know that this is of the form integration of 1 by x, right, which can be written as log x. And then similarly if I have integration of 1 by minus x dx, this will be log of minus x divided by minus 1, right? And then similarly if I have say log of, integration of 1 divided by minus ax dx, then this will be what? This will be log of minus ax divided by minus a. So this is what similarly this is what we'll be using here. So basically this terms becomes, this will become p divided by te, and then this will become log of b1 minus kx, and I will have to divide this by minus k, and then the limits are from 0 to L. So this is what I get. Further, I can take this minus sign here and I can write this as P divided by TEK, and I can write this as minus log of B1 minus K times X, which goes from 0 to L. Now if I substitute this here in this if I substitute this limit in this expression in place of this X, and if I rearrange this term, I will get I will finally get this as P divided by TEK, and then again let me remind you what was our K. Our K was nothing but this, right? Our K was nothing but B1 minus B2 by L. So I also need to substitute that. So before writing the expression directly, let me substitute that. So in place of K, I will write this as B1 minus B2 divided by L, and then I have this X here with me again. I need to close this bracket first and then this bracket. The limit goes from 0 to L. Now finally at this stage, if I start substituting this L and 0, I will get these terms as P divided by TEK, and I will get this as minus log of B2 plus log of B1. So you can try this. Just substitute this X as L, then this L and this L will cancel out, this B1 and this B1 will cancel out. I will get it as log of minus, I mean log of B2, and the sign will be minus. Similarly, when you will substitute X as 0, this term will become plus, and then see this term will become 0, so I will get basically log of B1. So this is what I will get. Now further I can rewrite this as, this will be P divided by TE. In place of K, even here I can substitute this expression, that is B1 minus B2 divided by L, and then this term will be finally log of B1 divided by B2, right? Because log of A minus log of B is log of A divided by B. And then finally I can write the expression for the deformation of continuously varying bar as, this will be PL divided by TE B1 minus B2, and this has to be multiplied by log of B1 by B2. So this is what expression we get in order to calculate the deformation of a continuously varying cross section bar. And let me remind you, in this case the cross section was what? In this case the cross section was a rectangular cross section. The cross section was of rectangular cross section, alright? So whenever we will be having a bar of rectangular cross section whose cross section is varying continuously, alright, whose cross section is varying continuously over the length, in this kind of bar we can calculate the deformation as this, wherein what are B1 and B2? B1 and B2 are nothing but, B1 is this, the one end, B2 is the smaller end of this bar, and then T is the constant thickness, E is the Young's modulus of this, P is the applied load, and then L is the length. So for this kind of rectangular cross section of uniform thickness T, we can find deformation in this fashion. So this was all about the bar whose cross section is rectangular. But we can also have a similar case wherein the cross section is not rectangular but circular. So if we basically have a circular cross sectional bar which will look somewhat like this, right? A continuously varying circular cross section bar. Basically how we can obtain this kind of bar, suppose say if we have a cone, if we have suppose say a cone, right? If we have a cone, and then if I cut the top part of it, then I can just erase this, and basically I can call this as a frustrum, right? I can call this as frustrum. So this is an example of a continuously varying circular cross sectional bar. All right, so this has exactly what has happened here. So let this diameter be D1 and let this diameter be D2, and its two-dimensional view will be somewhat like this, and its side view will be somewhat like this. This is the cross section of this D. Now the procedure will be exactly same the way we had done in our last problem, in the last derivation. The procedure will be exactly same. So basically again we'll be considering one small element here of say length dx at a distance x from the free end. So in this case again the deformation in this small element of length dx will be equal to nothing but it will be the applied force P multiplied by length dx divided by the cross sectional area A multiplied by material property E. But this will be the deformation. What it will be? It will be the deformation in small element of length dx, right? So in order to calculate now the deformation in this entire bar, what we'll have to do the way we had done last time, right? We will have to integrate this expression from 0 to L. So this will be P dx divided by AE. And then again now what will be the problem is, now once I substitute this expression for A, I will get this A as what? It will be pi by 4 multiplied by d square times E. Now the constants which I can remove easily out from this integration is, I will have this 4, then this P divided by pi and E, but what will remain inside is nothing but this D, right? This D will remain inside. What is D? D is the diameter, and I know that from my previous exercise which I had done here, right? Which I had done here, I had is similarly in like similar case, I had here the B. The way I have D now, I had here B, right? And then this relation of B was obtained as follows. The B was given as this, right? The B was given as this. So similarly what we will do is we will try to we will write the expression of D here the way we had written B. We will write here the expression of D, right? And then the exercise will be same. I will have to draw here two lines passing through this, and then the exercise is same. So basically the way we had got this expression, in this case for D, it will be what? It will be d1 minus d2 divided by L times x. So basically this D will be d1 minus k times x. So this is what we need to substitute here. And then if I do this, this will be 4p divided by pi e and multiplied by integration from 0 to L dx divided by, it will be d1 minus kx the whole square. Now the only difference between this problem and the previous problem is here we have square term, and an integration of 1 by x square dx will be nothing but x, right? Because this will become x to the power minus 2. This will become what? This will become x to the power minus 2 plus 1 divided by minus 2 plus 1. So basically I'll get this as minus what? Minus 1 by x. Similarly I will have to carry out this integration. So if I carry out this integration, what I will get is this will become 4p divided by pi, and then this integration will be minus 1 divided by d1 minus kx, and I will have to also multiply it by 1 divided by minus k, right? And the limit will go from 0 to L. So this minus and this minus will multiply with each other, and they will become plus. So basically I'll get here is 4p divided by pi e k, and I will have to multiply this by 1 divided by d1 minus kx, and the limit which goes from 0 to L. Then at this stage what I can do, I can substitute what is k, right? I can do that. So this will be 4p divided by pi e. I know that k is what? K is d1 minus d2 divided by L. So this will be our k. So k will be d1 minus d2 divided by L, right? And then I can again do this here also. I will have to write this k as d1 minus d2 divided by L, and this is multiplied by x, right? And the limit goes from 0 to L. Now if I further substitute this limit from 0 to L, I can write this as 4p divided by pi e, and this will be d1 minus d2 by L, and then finally I will get this as 1 divided by d2 minus 1 divided by d1 after substituting these limits. And then upon further simplification, I can very easily write this as, this will be 4pl divided by pi e d1 d2. So this is the deformation, this will be the deformation in a bar whose cross sectional area is circular and it is uniformly varying over the length. So this will be the expression. Okay, you can very easily compare this with a circular cross sectional, uniform cross sectional circular bar. All right, suppose say its diameter is d. So in this case the deformation will be what? If it has a constant diameter d over the length L. So in this case the deformation will be PL by A, right? And what will be A here? It will be what? PL divided by pi by 4 d square. So d into E, right? And you can compare this with this. So in this case what was happening? The diameter was not constant. It was changing from where to where? It was changing from d1 to d2. So because of that, this expression has been, we have derived this expression as what? In place of d we have d1, in place of second d we have d2. So this is how we can compare this expression with the expression of that of the uniform diameter d over the length L. So this is the expression which we get for a bar whose cross sectional area is circular and it is varying over the length L. So this, with the help of these two expression, this expression and then this expression, we can solve as many problems as we want. So for example, I have considered here one or two problems which we will solve it now. So the first example is, we have a steel flat of thickness 10 mm and it tapers uniformly from 60 mm to 40 mm. So basically we have here one taper, we have here one bar whose height is varying from from 60 mm to say 40 mm, right? It is varying from 60 mm to 40 mm, and then thickness is given as how much? The thickness is given as 10 mm, right? 10 mm. And then suppose if this bar is subjected to say a load of 80 kilonewtons, if this bar is subjected to a load of say 80 kilonewton, right? 80 kilonewton, I mean this should be a coaxial load, all right? It should pass through this axis, bar of 80 kilonewton. We need to find its extension. So for this what we can do, we can straight away use the formula which is derived just now, and the material property Young's modulus is given as 210 GPa, or 2 multiplied by 10 to the power 5 MPa. And he is asking us what is the percentage error if average area is used for calculating the extension. So this we will do later on. First we will just calculate what will be the length, I mean what will be the deformation in this bar. So the way we had derived the formula just now, the deformation in this bar can be given as PL divided by TE, and it will be multiplied by B1 minus B2, and then multiplied by log of B1 divided by B2. So this is the formula which we'll be using in order to calculate the deformation in this tapered bar. So load is given as 80 kilonewton. So if I can easily write this as 80 multiplied by 10 to the power 3 newton, right? Because we would like to keep forces in terms of newtons, we would like to keep lengths in terms of mm, and then areas in terms of mm square, and then stresses and Young's modulus, we would like to keep them in megapascals. These are the consistent units which we can follow. So I'm keeping this load as in terms of newtons, multiplied by length is given as 600 mm, right? So I'll write this as 600 mm divided by thickness is 10 mm multiplied by E, that is Young's modulus is given as 2 multiplied by 10 to the power 5 megapascals, right? And B1 and B2 is, this is B1 which is 60, right? This is B1, this is B2. So this will be 60 minus 40 and then multiplied by log of 60 divided by 40. This is, from here onwards it will be very easy for you all to just put this in calculator and calculate. We will get this as 0.4865 mm. All right, so we have got deformation with this expression as 0.4865. Now he's asking us what is the percentage error if the average area is used for calculating the extension. So basically what is happening here is he is saying, since the area is varying right from 60 mm, 60 mm to 40 mm, right? So in this case, in the second case, he is asking what will be the percentage error if average area is used. Now how to calculate average area? Average area can be calculated as what? It will be this area, this cross sectional area here at this place, right? This cross sectional area plus this cross sectional area, and then we will have to divide it by 2. So basically it will be 60 multiplied by thickness is 10, right? 60 multiplied by 10 plus this will be 40 multiplied by 10 and divided by 2. So this will basically give us the average area over the length, and with this we will be able to find this average area is 500 mm square, right? This will be 500 mm square. So with this, if I try to calculate the deformation with this average area, I can just put this our usual expression, that is PL divided by area average multiplied by E. So in place of P I have 80 kilonewton multiplied by length was how much? Length was 600 mm divided by average area we have found out to be now 500 mm square multiplied by E will be same. It will be 2 multiplied by 10 to the power 5. So this will come to around 0.480 mm. So this deformation we get from average area, and this is our actual deformation. So if I want to calculate the percentage error, what I will have to do is I will have to calculate the percentage error as what? It will be DL actual, this DL minus DL average divided by actual multiplied by 100. So this will give us percentage error. So basically this will be what? 0.4865 minus 0.48 divided by 0.4865 multiplied by 100, and then we can easily calculate that this percentage error will be around 1.348 percentage. So this is what we have found. So basically we had to use this derived formula, and then we had to calculate this average area and then calculate the deformation, and then just subtract this, divide it by original length, divide it by actual deformation and multiply it by 100, you will get the percentage error. So this was a very easy problem just to demonstrate the use of this formula. So let us go to the next example. We have here a composite bar kind of thing, wherein up to 1500 mm we have the uniform cross sectional area of 40 mm dia, whereas after this we have a tapered bar which goes from 40 mm to 20 mm. It is subjected to a load of 200 kilonewton, right? And the material property is 200 GPa, which can be also written as 200 multiplied by 10 to the power 3 MPa, because our units will be in terms of Newton, mm square and megapascal. So this is the consistent unit which will be following throughout this course. So what we will do, we will consider this as our first segment and this as our second segment. So to calculate the deformation in first segment, it will be very easy, right? To calculate the deformation in first segment DL1, it will be just PL by AE, right? So P will be 200 multiplied by 10 to the power 3, right? Because this will be 200 multiplied by 10 to the power 3 Newton, and then multiplied by this length 1500 mm divided by area. Now area will be here pi by 4 multiplied by this 40 square, because area of the circle is pi by 4 d square, right? Because here the diameter is 40. And then E, Young's modulus, is, or modulus of elasticity is 200 multiplied by 10 to the power 3. So with this we should be able to find the deformation as 1.194 mm. But now what about the deformation in segment 2? Deformation in segment 2 can be given by the expression which was derived just now. It will be 4PL divided by pi d1 d2 multiplied by e, right? 4 pi by 4 d1 d2 it was, the area was pi by 4 d1 d2. So upon substituting these values, this will be 4 multiplied by p is 200 multiplied by 10 to the power 3, and the length is 500, and then this will be divided by pi multiplied by 40 multiplied by 20, and this is multiplied by 200 multiplied by 10 to the power 3. So upon calculating this, upon substituting these values in the calc, you will get this value as 0.7958 mm. So therefore the total deformation dl will be nothing but dl1 plus dl2, which will be 1.194 plus 0.7958, and this will be equal to 1.989 mm. So we'll do one more example after this, and that should be all under this topic. So basically here we have now a bar which is again uniformly tapering bar from diameter d plus a to d minus a. So basically here we have a bar whose diameter is changing uniformly from what, from d minus a to d plus a. So from d plus a, let this diameter be d plus a. It is changing from d plus a to d minus a, right? It is changing from d plus a to d minus a, and let this length be L. Let this length be L. So what he is saying is the extension of the bar of uniformly tapering from diameter d plus a to d minus a in a length L is calculated by treating it as a uniform bar of cross section of average diameter d. In that case, he is asking us what is the percentage error. So basically what is happening here, this is the actual bar, but he's saying that if we calculate the deformation in this bar assuming it to be of uniform diameter d, so that means we have to assume it to be a bar of say uniform diameter d. So we are basically assuming it to be of uniform diameter d, but what actually, how is the bar? It is varying from d plus a to d minus a, but he is saying if we assume it to be of uniform diameter d and then calculate the extension in this bar, then what will be the percentage error? So for this what we'll have to do, we'll have to first calculate the deformation in the actual bar, and then we'll calculate the deformation in a bar wherein we are considering it of average diameter d, and then finally we'll calculate the error, and then we'll calculate the percentage. So first let us calculate the extension in the actual bar. So since this bar is of circular cross sectional area, and since the area is varying uniformly over the length L, we know that the deformation in this bar, that is deformation in actual bar. All right, deformation in actual bar can be given as what? It will be 4pl divided by pi d1 d2e. So basically this will be 4pl. Suppose if this is subjected to say load p, if this bar is subjected to load p, and then this also subjected to same load p later on, so then the load will be p, and then this is divided by pi. And how much is d1 and d2 here? D1 is d plus a at this end, whereas d2 at this end is how much? D minus a, and multiplied by the material property E, that is Young's modulus E, which is same for both the material, in both the cases. So further if I simplify this, I can very easily write this as 4pl divided by pi E, and I can write just this as d square minus a square. This is of the form a plus b, a minus b, which is nothing but a square minus b square. So here it turns out to be d square minus a square. Now let us see what if we had treated this as an average if we had treated this bar of average diameter d. In that case, the deformation in average diameter will be what? It will be pl divided by pi by 4, and this will be d square e, right? Because d1 and d2 we are considering it to be d and d, so we'll get this as the expression. So that's it. So this is the actual deformation which we should get. This is the deformation which we are getting if we consider it of average diameter d. So basically average diameter will vary somewhere So here somewhere from this to this, so from here to here, this will be D and D, which I have drawn here. Okay, so once I get this, basically now in order to find the percentage error, what we need to do is we can do it as follows. So percentage error will be nothing but it will be DL actual minus DL average divided by DL actual, and I have to multiply it by 100. So if I do this, if I just have to substitute this value here, and then this value I will have to substitute it here, and then again this value will be this multiplied by 100. If I do this, I will get this as I will get this as 100 multiplied by a square plus d square. So this is the amount of error which we will get if we consider this actual bar of diameter which is changing from d plus a to d minus a to be that of a bar of uniform diameter d.